Hi guys, it's Victoria Milholland here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about classroom culture and how that ties into student engagement. So I'm going to keep this pretty brief. We're going to try to keep it under 10 minutes, but I did try to include lots of links in here for you guys to follow up on later because I know it's at the beginning of the school year and our time is pretty limited right now. So again, follow these links later if you have time. Or I'm always willing to stick around and answer any questions that you guys have over today. So let's just dive right in. So where I want to start is analyzing engagement. So first I have an activity on here that I think would be great for you guys to just take a few minutes to do after this presentation. If you follow this self-assessment link, what I want you to do is just think about a group of students that you maybe had last year or a specific class and just go through and answer the questions that relate to engagement. This is going to give you an idea of kind of where you are at. And then I have some basic keys to engagement that we're going to talk about. First one is student voice. So student voice is so important. If students feel that their voice is respected and heard and they feel safe in their classroom environment, they're more likely to be more engaged. Student ownership and relevance. This is one that Robert Marzano talks about a lot. If students feel like they have ownership over their own learning and they feel that what they are learning is important, they're more likely to be engaged. He actually claims that it's almost impossible for students to actually truly understand something if it's not actually important to them. And then last but not least, I put this one in bold, is culture, because I think that all of these things are going to tie into culture and how you set up your classroom culture. So let's talk a little bit about the science behind engagement. There is this really nice TED Talk here. I encourage you guys to go watch this later, again, if you have time. But basically, this TED Talk talks about the brain and how we study, how we learn as students, and how we are teaching our students. One big takeaway I took from this is that recognition does not equal understanding. He also talks a lot about cramming versus learning that is spaced out and intentional. So I want to talk a little bit about that for a second. I think we have all crammed for a test. And basically what happens when you cram right before a test, you look over the study guide for some answers right before you take it. All that's doing is putting knowledge into your short-term memory. So you're not actually learning the information. You're not actually understanding it. And I think we all kind of recognize that, and it should make sense to us as teachers. However, I think a lot of us are still stuck in that way where when we're doing a unit, we do topic after topic after topic, and then we'll do like one day of review, and then we'll go take the test. Well, to me, that's just like cramming. We need to be more intentional about how we review as we go, and do activities that are more intentional that help students understand. There's actually science that backs up how the brain relates relationships to learning. The stronger relationship that we have with the student, the more they're going to learn. So there's a few TESA strategies. If you click this link down here, that kind of help you build relationships. And I just put a few of my favorite on here. Affirmation and correction. Praise goes a long ways with students. That's a strategy we could work on. Practicing good listening, high-level questioning, accepting feelings. All of those are strategies we could work on to help build those relationships, help our students learn. I'm not going to go a lot into growth mindset because I feel like we are all familiar with this, but I did put a YouTube video on here if you want to learn more about growth mindset. But it's also kind of fostering that productive struggle, giving students a chance to reflect on growth and learning. Those are all huge for engagement as well. All right, next I want to talk about flexible learning environments. This is something we learned in this course a lot. Flexible learning environments are anything from flexible seating, technology, different learning zones. So like, for example, you could have one zone that's more of a quiet zone and one zone where students are collaborating, and giving students room to roam. All of that relates to flexible learning environments. And I really like this quote right here. It says, "We can't prepare students for tomorrow by keeping them in yesterday's classrooms." To me, what this means is yesterday's classrooms are students are in rows. They are listening to the teacher, and the teacher is feeding them knowledge. Today's classroom or flexible learning environments are more about collaboration, moving around and learning in different ways, and letting students be in charge of their own learning. So here's some tips I have for you. First, always come up with a plan. If you want to come up with a flexible learning environment, think, how do you want your classroom to serve your students? Next step would be rethinking your classroom layout. I'd love to help you with this. We can look at budget. We can think about seating options for your classroom, or we can simply repurpose what you have and kind of move things around. But the layout is huge for flexible learning environments. Whoops, no thank you. Next step, think about how technology could be used effectively in your classroom. Are you using effective technology? Do you need more technology in your classroom? Those are huge things. Like for me this year, implementing CBE, I'm going to try a classroom headphone set for the first time. That way, I can have students that are on different tracks and we can be using headphones to learn different things. And then last but not least, don't be afraid to switch things up if things aren't working. Oh my goodness, no, we don't want to update. All right. Next up, we learned about this thing called SEL, which stands for Social and Emotional Learning. So again, there's a nice little video if you just want an introduction to this. But to me, SEL is kind of how students feel and interact with others in your classroom. And it focuses on 5 core competencies, which are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision making. So let's talk about incorporating SEL. So you might be thinking, oh, this is just another thing that I have to cram in and teach to my students. That's not true. Teaching these SEL skills should not be extra. They should actually be embedded into lesson plans that you already have and work side by side with their academics. So one key or tip that I have for you is introduce these SEL skills from the last slide regularly to your students. Talk about them so they are familiar with them. Also, focus on things like collaboration and reflection strategies. I actually linked a sample lesson that I created incorporating some of these SEL skills, and I would love for you to take a look at it if you have time. And I can sit down and I can help you incorporate SEL skills into your own lesson plans. But basically with this lesson plan, I took one that I already had before I even knew about SEL. And I just added some strategies where I focused on collaboration and reflection. And I was able to tie in relationship building and some of those skills for my students. Bottom line, here are the key takeaways to engagement that I want you to think about going into this school year. Foster a classroom culture where students feel safe and respected. Keep relationship building a priority. That kind of goes with that collaboration. Create a flexible learning environment. I would love to help you with this. Foster growth mindset every day. And work on skills like collaboration and reflection with your students. Please reach out if you have any questions over this presentation. I would love to talk to you about any of this.